What's good, you too? We're back. Another Sunday. Lab every day. I'm excited for this interview. I have four kids of my own. And when we talk about our tech skills and being in the tech industry, one of the things we all can agree on is that a major part of our future is coding. And today, I have Kevin Epps, who's a leader in this industry. He's a mentor. He's the owner of Digital Brilliance Hour. He's on the board of directors of the Durham John Avery Boys and Girls Club. He specializes in all things front end web development, and he's the first black game developer that I've ever met. And he has been great enough to come share his time and his wisdom with us. Welcome. What's good, Kev?
Hey, what's going on, man? What's going on, Duane? I appreciate you having me on, brother. Oh, man. Appreciate that intro. Man, you make me sound important.
Man, look, that's you. That's your resume. It ain't mine.
Oh, man.
Welcome to everyone that's watching this live. If you all could do me a favor and first of all, like this video. And the second thing I'm asking you to do is share this out on your social media. Because if you have kids or you know someone that has kids, this is going to be an interview they're going to want to watch so they can understand how to get their kids involved in software development and understanding coding. So, yeah, do that. I'll give you all a couple minutes to do that, and then we'll get started. Man, Kev, this is we talked about this what was it, about a month ago? And we're here making it happen. So I'm glad we can do this.
Yes, yeah, same.
Okay, let's get to it. Now you
All right.
are a front end web developer. You're a technical lead. For those that are maybe new to tech, what is, first of all, a software engineer? And my second question is, how does that differ from being a front end web developer?
Okay. So a software engineer, they are responsible for building out applications. So for example, Facebook, we all use Facebook, we all use LinkedIn, we all use YouTube, these sites that we might call them are actually web applications. And so there's a back end, there are services that run in the back end that make sure that these videos show in the front. There's a front end that we as the user see. So, the thumbnails and the homepage and the trending when we're looking through YouTube and how we're experiencing and moving around it. That is the UI. That's the front end. So there is a front end developer who codes all of that out to ensure that it shows up in a browser or your phone or wherever. Software engineers, they come in two sides. You have your front end developer, and then you have your back end. The back end, they support all the back end services that the front end may not see. So, your average user may not see everything that happens in order for a video to run as far as YouTube is concerned. So the back end is just as important as the front end, because without the back end, the front end wouldn't work as it's supposed to.
That's super interesting. How do they work together to build, let's say, Facebook and build these apps and these web apps for us to be able to see them and use them? How do they keep that glue held together when it comes to developing those programs?
So there's definitely a synergy that happens. There's a lot of communication where I don't know if a lot of people have heard of agile, Agile is a methodology where multiple teams of people. So for in this instance, front end engineers versus back end engineers, they both work together to try to figure out what type of work they want to work on, and then they break up the work. So let's say for Facebook, for instance, like the front end engineer wanted to change the look and feel on how it would look for somebody to create a post, right? So the front end engineer would code that out, just code out how it would look. But if someone were to try to use it, it would not work because there needs to be a back end service to make sure that the post actually gets posted in the back end database and data in. And that's where the back end engineer comes in. So he takes what the front end engineer did, and then he adds in, he creates the service, he creates everything that needs to happen on the back end point of view to ensure that the data gets posted where it's supposed to be. And that's how they pretty much work together. So the front end kind of does a bit of the foundational work, back end kind of ties everything together underneath.
Now, I'm really interested how this ties into you developing games. But before we get into that, the question that I have for you is, how did you get started with software development?
Right. So interestingly enough, I was always into gaming. So gaming does play a huge role in this. I was into gaming way back in the day. I think it was around the time, what was that, 91 when Sonic the Hedgehog first came out. Man. That was, yeah, I was telling my age. That was when I decided that, man, you know what? I really want to make video games, I was 12 years old. Sega was out. I love Sega. I'm a Sega fanboy. I've grown to like SNES, but I'm a Sega fanboy.
Shout out to Dreamcast.
So, go ahead.
Shout out to Dreamcast. That's like the best
console
ever.
So at that time, all I knew is that I wanted to be a game developer, and I knew nothing else about it. So I actually took we had a trade school where I lived in Greenville, South Carolina, where they taught typing, and so I actually learned how to type. I think I was typing like 52 words a minute at that time. They were saying, if you really want to get into game programming, you definitely need to know how to type. So I was like, okay, cool. And so in high school, I was talking to my guidance counselors, is what they were called at the time. And I was told that in order to become a game developer, I needed to get my computer science degree at a college. So I said, okay, cool, I can do that too. So went to, North Carolina Central University, obtained my computer science degree. And as I was in that program, I was learning all kinds of different programming languages. And in the midst of that, they didn't really have a gaming program per se. They actually had one class, they were introducing the whole idea of game development. I think my senior year, actually. Senior year, I took a game development class, but they were more focused on software development. I got introduced to PHP, web development. And so at that point I was like, well, if I'm not going to be a game developer, software developer seems like the next best thing. Cause I love PHP. I still do. I grew up on C and C++. So they all played hand in hand. So that's when I decided to become a web developer and software developer at that point. So like my last year in college.
Okay.
Yeah.
So for someone that wants to get started with software development, is college a good path still to get in the industry, or is there ways to become a software engineer and be self-taught?
Oh yeah. So there are definitely other ways. College definitely gives you some of the fundamentals, especially if you have good teachers. But boot camps, the whole thing about getting into software development is really understanding the fundamentals of software development. Because a lot of mistakes people make is, and I've seen it time and time again, is that, okay, there's this course that teaches you how to, let's say, code Python, for instance. So, they learn Python, they kind of learn the ins and outs of Python. They know how it works. They get a job that specializes in Python. Then the company decides to move in a different direction and go to like Golang, you know. If you don't necessarily fully understand the fundamentals of what makes Python and what makes a program language a language, to switch from Python to Golang is going to be a lot difficult to do. So it's really about starting with those fundamentals. Boot camps do that very well. Colleges do that very well. So it's really about, as long as you can get the fundamentals, you can learn anything else you want. It doesn't matter what language.
Okay. Did you have a mentor on your journey?
Yes, I did. I had several. So my biggest mentor was the college chair, my computer science chair, Dr. Takuda. He was feared among the students of the computer science program, but I actually appreciated him a lot because he taught me how to search things out. He was one of those teachers who he would give you the subject on what we would talk about in the class before class, but he expected you to read up on the subject to get an idea of the subject before class. So he wasn't going to actually teach on that subject. He wanted to have a discussion about what you thought about the subject, what you brought to the table, and he filled in the blanks. Man. So, yeah.
I think, I didn't mean to cut you off. Go ahead, man.
No, you good, man.
I think it's important for mentors to challenge you, and it's a lot of people miss that on the journey, because that every mentor hasn't learned that part yet. You know what I mean? To challenge their mentee to help them grow and think for themselves.
Yes.
So it's a blessing that you had that early on.
Yes. Yeah. I consider it a blessing every day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
North Carolina Central, is that a black college?
Yes, sir.
That's what I thought.
Eagles. Eagle pride amplified. Yes, sir.
Hey, so going to a black college, was there a lot of us in software development?
No, not comparatively. There were a few of us for sure. But actually, to be completely honest, I think it was diverse. It was more diverse than mostly black. I guess it was kind of mostly black, but also a little diverse too. And most of my friends who I graduated, so excuse me, the program, this will give you an idea of how the computer science program was. When I graduated, I was the only person, like the only like person, like wow. Person. Yeah. But that's only because I took on the challenge of what Dr. Takuda was really trying to instill in us. I was like, wait, no, I'm not failing. So right. I kind of, and I appreciate every bit of that because it allowed me to learn how to work in this climate. Always not have to depend on anyone and think for myself in every situation, because most people always think I know everything, but no, I don't know everything. I just prepare. I just spend time preparing all the time. and that was instilled in me in the university. But yeah, there wasn't there comparatively, as far as the number of students in computer science, it was a very small percentage, I will say.
Yeah. Hey,
Yeah.
well, congratulations for graduating top of your class.
Yes. That is the way I sure was. Oh man.
It's all love, man. That's what's
Yes,
up.
sir.
That's what's up. Now, now the question I have, all right, getting into software development, and you had this aspiration from Sonic the Hedgehog to develop your own game. At what point did you develop your first game?
I started, so once I graduated college, I think that was another thing. When I graduated college, they always tell you, oh man, you need your degree, then you'll be able to get your job. That wasn't the case. I a lot of these entry level programs that they had when I was coming out of college, they still wanted you to have like at least a year to 2 years of experience. And I'm like, well, I'm just graduating college. So it'd be essentially, they want you to have internships and working and mentorships. They want you to have those under your belt as well as a degree, but they don't really say it like that. So when I got out, thankfully I had one internship with GlaxoSmithKline right when I graduated. Then I ended up working for Duke probably a year later, Duke University. And I would say 2 to 3 years after that, I started working on my game. I just, I never got rid of the want to develop my own video game. Oh, before I continue. So when I was in school, we had a senior seminar. And remember, I told you that we had the game development program or class that senior year. So I took that knowledge because I still held on to that and made the first video game to ever be made in that department. So I made it was supposed to be like you remember the really old Mario Brothers, not even Super Mario Brothers, but Mario Brothers, where you had the little POW in the middle and you would have to
Yeah, just Mario Brothers.
Yeah, right,
yeah,
right.
Yeah.
Okay. So I built the game like that. That represented the school. So it was based off of my journey as a computer science major, where first I had to get to the top of the stage to defeat the first boss, which is like one of the professors there, Dr. Kwan. Second one was my junior year, the professor at the top, and then the last stage was Dr. Takuda. So I had to defeat him to then be able to get my degree. And so, they were really impressed by it. I mean, you look back on it, it wasn't that impressive, but at the time that wasn't a thing, and, they were really impressed by it. So I always still held on to wanting to make games. So from that, I still decided to, as I worked as a software engineer, I still wanted to make games. And then that's when I came up with the idea to open up my own game development company. And this was around 2004, 2005.
Man,
graduated in 2004. So a year later.
Okay. Your college should, that should be like part of the college history, especially with it being a black college. That should be something that is, for you to develop the first game in the college, that should be something to where they got a plaque up with your game and all of that. Was it 8-bit?
Sure.
Was it an 8-bit game?
What was that?
Was it 8-bit? Like an 8-bit computer game?
Oh yeah, it was it was 8-bit. Yeah. About 8 between 8-16, about 8-bit.
Yeah, that's legendary, man. I'm over here talking to a legend. You out here.
Man, okay now. All right.
No, for real, man. I think that's dope because During that time frame, like I don't know anybody that really developed any games. You know,
Yeah.
for you to do that in college, be the first person to do that, be the only person to graduate in your class, you know, and then now you're leading in software development, and then you're mentoring others to help them learn how to develop games and do music. I missed that part, you know, and do
Oh,
music. So I
man.
think, you know, you're doing excellent things, and I salute you, bro,
Hey, man, I appreciate it. Thank you.
for sure.
Thank you.
Now let's get
Man.
back to your story, so we get into that game part.
Okay. All right. So, yeah, 2005 started the company. I've always been into 2D games. I know 3D was starting to, you know, get on the scene. I was, you know, for a while I wasn't hearing it. So I said I was going to stick with 2D. I also felt that 2D allowed you to, if you understood 2D, you would know how to build 3D. So I started building 2D games. The name of my company was United Minds Games. I partnered with um, actually a couple of people around the world. So I met with a guy in the UK, another guy in California. I was in RTP, Raleigh, North Carolina. And I think there was we also had a music composer. That's actually what led to my music, but a music composer in Chicago. So we were all over the place. And so when we were thinking up a name, it was like, well, how about United Minds? Because we had United States, United Kingdom. So we said United Minds Games. And we developed at least one, two, three, at least three or four. We were working on like 2 or 3 more games. At around we were open for like 4 years, 2005 to 2009. But things started getting a little crazy at the house. You know, personal matters. So I didn't necessarily have the time to devote to it as much. So we ended it there at 2009. But I always still, I think I should still have those games that we built. Space Renegades was one where it was kind of like a mix between Galaga, Space Invaders, and a vertical shoot 'em up, where you were a dang, the word isn't coming to me. Someone mercenary. You were a mercenary who would uh, upgrade his ship because the main boss kidnapped his family. And each ship destroyed would, you know, give him more money, and he would use that money to upgrade his ship. So it was like a 9-stage game that we made. It was real fun, and people really enjoyed it. So we were doing really well, you know. But you know, life kind of kicked in, and that kind of ended that. So I've always still had the enjoyment of making games even from then. So I'll take a pause there if you.
Yes, I got a question. So
Okay.
when you were developing games at that point, were those games to be played online? Were they to be played on a computer? How could someone download or access your games?
So yeah, they were all PC games. So they have to download on the Windows machine.
Okay, so back
Yeah.
then, how did you get them out to other people so they could play them?
So we had it downloadable online, and they were we didn't sell them actually. They were free. So they were downloadable online as executables. And we also we were a part of the Game Developers Association, Independent Game Developers Association. So we also had relationships with some of the different media folk out there as well. So they would push the game. But yeah, that's pretty much we sent out the executable, the link to download it and play it,
Nice.
and then we hosted it. Yeah.
How'd you come up with a theme for your games? Like that, it seems like it's a lot. You make it sound so simple, but it seems that there's a lot of moving pieces in it.
So yeah, you know, discussion. because I'm a big fan of vertical shooters.
Hmm.
So that is kind of what led to me wanting to make a vertical shooter. And so we would have a bunch of discussions on like what type. Um, I had already had experience, like in my game development class, I had built a Space Invaders type game. So I'd already kind of had some of the code of how the Space Invaders mechanics would work. So I didn't want it to be just that, though. I wanted to add more to it. So we kind of worked together on trying to figure out, okay, well, what could this game have? And so a lot of discussion, really. And we just we all agreed on how the game should behave and the features of the game, and went forward from there.
Hmm.
Yeah.
And y'all broke up the different pieces of, okay, I'll code this, you code that, and then y'all put it together. Did y'all have version control? Was y'all using Git? How did that work?
We sure were not at that time. Actually, we did kind of. We had, you know what? We did have CVS. Yeah, CVS at the time. We were using version control. I was the only coder. So,
Whoa, really?
yeah, I was
So
the
out of
only
you
coder.
four, you was the only one that knew how to code?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, because had two designers, so they would do the artwork, and then the other guy was the composer, music composer.
Okay, okay.
Yeah.
So let's kind of talk about that. When
Okay.
it comes to developing a game, do you need all those different pieces, or what do you need to develop a game? Let me ask you that.
Okay. So you don't really need everything to develop a game, because there's so many. I mean, that's partly what I was going to talk about with DBH. But there's so many assets out there that you can use to get your feet wet in designing and developing a game out, because you can use all those art assets to design really what you want to see in the game, then code it out. So, I mean, it's good to at least have someone with an artistic eye and someone with an engineering eye, someone who could code. The music part, there's so much music out there. You can find somebody to do that. You can there's so many like free music out there that you can use and or even purchase that can fill up the game. So I would say coding and definitely a designer for sure.
Okay. And
Yeah.
now I want to get into digital brilliance, however, so we can really get into the meat and potatoes of developing games. But what language did you write those games in?
The language I wrote those in was C++, and I used the Allegro gaming library, and then I moved on to the Torque game builder library.
Okay. Did you learn
Yeah.
that language in college?
C++, yeah, C and C++.
Okay.
That's what I learned in college. Yeah,
Okay.
and PHP.
So, have you ever had like an official job developing games?
Outside of my own company, no.
Wow, it's just a hobby,
Yeah,
man.
yeah.
You never thought about working for like EA or something, EA Sports or something.
I did at one point when what is the name of that company? Red Storm. When Red Storm was here in Raleigh, I was thinking about going there, but I was still full time doing software development, full stack. So, I never really gave that up either. I'm still in that position now. So, yeah, I just kind of stuck with what I was already doing and
Okay.
did the gaming as a hobby.
Which one do you enjoy more, the front end or developing games?
Uh, probably developing games, only because you can create more. I
Mm.
like to create. You brought up the music production. There's a level of creation. I mean, even with software development, there's a level of creation, but with developing a game, even more so. So, plus I love game music. I like all types of music. game music especially. So that kind of keeps my energy going in developing the game, because I'm looking forward to what music I'm gonna use in certain places and stuff.
Okay. Before we talk about Digital Brilliance Hour,
Yes.
the question I have for you is, what's your favorite game of all time?
Mm. Oh man. Um ah and
I
it's
put
funny
you on
when
the
you
spot.
asked that, I actually had it there. And then when you finish the sentence, so many games came flooding in. Probably Street Fighter 2.
That's a classic.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Street Fighter 2 over Tekken, over Mortal Kombat.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh,
I give you that. Yeah. Yeah. Over both.
man.
That was my game. Like nobody could beat me, you know.
Who was your favorite character?
Well, I call him Ryu, but yeah,
That's
Ryu.
his
People
name.
call
His
him.
name is
Yeah.
Ryu. His
Yeah.
mama name is Ryu. We gonna call him Ryu.
Exactly.
Man,
Oh man. Yeah.
that's funny.
Ryu.
Ryu. Everybody in the hood call him Ryu.
Exactly.
Man, that's funny. All right. So, fast forward. Now, you are the owner of Digital Brilliance Hour, where you all focus on helping kids learn how to develop games, and you also teach them music. You want to kind of talk about that?
Yes. So as far as the game development part, well, actually both. Um, we know that I'll start with music, because music, I don't think people understand like how much STEM is actually involved in music production. You know, even with just beat production, you know, you got to learn, you have to know how a lot of these tools work, these VSTs. Even if you played your own instruments, there's still a level of audio engineering to make sure the music sounds great everywhere. So to know how to move around with these tools, that is pretty much STEM. You're and when you're using like social media to promote your music, when you're building these videos to kind of get the music out, like all of that STEM, you have to use some form of engineering and technology to bring it out. Especially nowadays, you know, if you really want to get into music production, you know, Pro Tools is still the, you know, industry standard. Although, you know, I use FL Studio. I'm sure there are a lot of people out there that use it as well. So to even use those digital audio workstations, it requires a level of technical knowledge to move around and be able to build stuff with it, to fully appreciate it and fully get 100% of what it was built for. Yeah. um I'm sorry. I was so caught up with the music part, but the game development part, we also we take that as an opportunity to teach those fundamentals. um because, you know, most kids love video games. They play PS5, they play, you know, all these games, but it doesn't dawn on them that, you know, they can actually make this themselves. You know, you're waiting on other people, other companies to make games that you want to see, when you could actually make one for yourself and make the game that you want for yourself. And so showing them the steps to do that, showing that it's not as hard as it might seem, because of, you know, these AAA titles, you know, they seem so intricate and so huge that, you know, it can't possibly grasp everything around developing these games. But what I show the kids is, it doesn't matter how big the game is, or whatever the problem is. You break it down into smaller chunks, to smaller digestible chunks, in order to be able to fully succeed and build everything out. So if you break it down, you know, you can go step by step by step to eventually build what you're looking for. And so instead of focusing on the whole picture, break it down into smaller pictures, and each success in that smaller picture, that's a small triumph that's going to help you keep going. So when they see that, they really gravitate. And it's like, oh man, it's not hard at all.
That's a whole life lesson in itself.
Yeah, true.
How do you get the students to grasp those smaller pieces? Because I know, like, when I'm trying to show my kids something, they're looking at the end game. Like, I want to do this. And I'm like, well, because I tried to teach them Python a few times, and I think I scared them away. And so we're going another route now. But when I was doing it, they want to develop this huge game that they can play like on their phone. But then I'm like, well, let's start with doing math and integers and stuff like that so we can kind of understand Python. And they're like, saw no point in it at all. So how do you get kids to grasp that part?
So I kind of mix in a lot of visuals with that understanding. Like I start very basic. So I start with allowing them to be able to see their efforts play out in front of them. So we start off with stage design and how to build out a stage, so the engine that we're using is called OpenBOR, and the code base already has some art assets already included. So we use those in a way that so they don't have to necessarily have to worry about building out the art, but they can see actually building out the background structure of the stage, how you want to place the enemies on the stage. We go through the math involved in the screen coordinates, and how to calculate screen coordinates, and how to calculate pixel ratios, and camera sizes, and all of that. But we do it in a way that it doesn't sound so technical, because they're more so focused on the characters. They go choose whatever enemies they want to use, choose whatever backgrounds they want to use, and I'm working with them on placing those backgrounds and those enemies on the stage. And when they see what they do happen right in front of them, so I have them play it to see it play out in front of them, that's when it starts to click for them. So I have to mix it with a little bit of talk, but a lot more show.
Okay.
Yeah.
What in your program? What are the ages for the students?
Age ranges from 12 to 19.
12 to 19. What's the youngest someone could join?
Well, actually, we just had in our past summer camp, we just had a 9-year-old. Before that, we had someone who was 8. So it's not limited to 12 to 19. But because of some of the math involved, we kind of keep it at 12 to 19. But if the student is looking for a challenge, we don't mind accepting anyone earlier. Because one thing we also do, so we do this virtually, but one of the things that we do is I try to have enough teachers to be able to support the kids in the students in the program. So if someone might be falling behind, we don't want anybody falling behind. So either we would stop as a class, as a unit, to get people caught up, or we have separate breakout rooms. So, another teacher can work with who might be falling behind, and they'll get caught up. But we spend every day ensuring that everybody's on the same page. And, no student will feel like they can't ask a question.
Right.
Because I want them to.
Yes. Okay, so for those of you that are watching this live stream and watching the recording, all of Kevin's contact information for his social media and Digital Brilliance Hour is in the description of this video. Now, the question I have for you, Kevin, is that if someone wanted to sign their kids up, how do they go about that? And since you're in North Carolina, are they able to do that from anywhere around the world?
Yes. So that you would go to digitalbrilliancehour.com. That's where you would go and get all the information and sign up for any workshop that we have. We have a workshop coming up in October. The best way would probably be to sign up for our newsletter. Because once we open up the registration, which will probably be in September, we'll send out an email to whoever's on the newsletter to let them know, hey, you know, things are open. But as far as the workshop, we do base our hours on East Coast Standard Time. So typically we usually it's a 12-week program. We meet twice a week, 2 hours a week. 2 hours a day, so 4 hours a week. And we usually base that between the hours of 4 and 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So usually a 2-hour block between those, depending on everyone's availability and things of that nature. Usually we have it between 6 and 8, but sometimes 5 to 7.
Okay, so the classes, are they set days, or can a student just schedule the days that work for them?
They're set days.
Okay.
So yeah, it would be twice a week. Usually it's usually Tuesdays and Thursdays. But I think this time around we may do it Mondays and Wednesdays. But yeah, they'll be set for them. Excuse me. But we also record. We also have things set up in a way that if they miss something, it's recorded for them to go back and refer to it and get caught up as well. Because we kind of combine it with an online course that we also sell very cheap, but we kind of run the program along with those courses as well. So if they miss a class, they can go back.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Kind of rewinding.
Okay.
You mentioned that your program is focused on music as well as game development. The students that sign up, do they have to pick a track, or do they get to learn both?
No, they get to learn both. Usually they do pick a track though. Okay. Yeah. Some people, there's some kids who actually want to learn both. So they'll kind of switch between both, where, you know, they'll have one day in one and the other day in another each week. Okay. But for the most part, they choose.
Yeah. I know when I used to do music, I use FL Studio, Fruity Loops as well. I think we talked about that before.
Fruity Loops. Yeah, and that's what we use. Actually, no. I take that back. Sorry. We use BandLab now. BandLab. Yeah, because we found we used to use Fruity Loops, but we found that BandLab, because it's available online and basically any device that you can have your hands on, so it made it easier to develop from that. Okay. So we moved on to that. You can do that on your phone or whatever. Wow, it's a good tool, and it's free.
And it's free.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, you can load samples in it as well.
Yep.
Can you chop samples?
Yes, you can.
Oh wow, I'm about to check that out.
And they just actually had they had an update. They had a massive update, so it's even better than it was last year.
Man, you know, I bought Fruity Loops back in 2000. I want to say I bought it in 2005 or something. And when I bought it, I bought like the lifetime upgrade. It was like 100, I want to say 150 or something. And so I think even to this day I can sign in, download it, and get the latest version.
Yes.
So
I did the same exact thing.
Oh, you did the same thing?
Yeah.
And I think I want to say I was watching a live stream of T-Pain. I think he used Fruity Loops.
Oh wow.
Yeah, I think he used Fruity Loops as well. I was surprised.
I mean, it's easy to create with that though. Super easy. Like I would use FL Studio to produce, but then I would use Studio One to do the audio engineering.
Studio One.
Yeah, have you heard that?
I haven't used
tool?
that.
Yeah, so it's comparable. I would say it's a little comparable to Pro Tools, but for the PC.
Okay.
Yeah, I really like it.
Okay. Yeah, I know before Pro Tools I was using Cubase, and then I stopped using Cubase and started using Pro Tools and never looked back.
Yeah. I'd agree. Yeah, I use Cubase too. I can see that.
Yeah, that's what's up. So the kids, once they learn how to do music, do they like share them with somebody? Put they like Reason. I used to love Reason as well. You ever use that? Yeah.
Yeah, I used to love Reason too.
Yeah. I want to say Knife Wonder, he used Fruity Loops.
FL.
Yeah, he used Fruity Loops. Yeah. Somebody I know used Reason. That's why I started using it. But I don't even know, is it still around?
I don't know. I have to ask another producer that I know, Abstract Minor. Shout out to her. So she was like 100% Reason. Like she would not use anything else. Yeah. She was really skilled in making like producing music with minor notes. So she kind of would give you a vibe of like production for Janet Jackson or something. Okay. So she was very R&B she had an R&B vibe. Goodness. Yes. Yeah, but I don't know if they still are around or not.
I did find that Reason had a like fuller sound. Like, so if you're making like Slum Village, or if you're making something that you want to have that raspy natural drum kick, and then the melodic sounds and all of that, I found Reason was better for that. But if you want that down south, that in your face, some synthesizers, FL Studio is the way to go.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
FL Studio and Nexus. Yeah, man. Yeah.
Do you find the students that come to your class when they start to develop music, have you heard some kids that are like really, really talented?
Oh yeah, man. So I need to on the website. So there's we also have a Bandcamp page and a SoundCloud page. So all the albums that have been created are on there. Also, we also have I did want to mention this too. So at the end of each workshop, we have a live release party. So we kind of give them their chance to kind of speak on what they did, present their work. It's being added to their own portfolio because they put in the work for it, and they release the product to the public. So everything that's released is on Bandcamp and SoundCloud. And man, every student, especially in the music, like each one of them are skilled in their own right. And just the fact that they're able to express themselves, you just don't know what's gonna come out until you hear it. I'm like, man, I ain't even know you was thinking about all that, So yeah.
Man, this needs to be something that more of our youth know about and hear about and notice available, because what I find with a lot of kids is that they go the wrong way just because they don't know no other way.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So salute to you for what you're doing.
I appreciate it. I mean, we do it because I was once those kids. I know what they're gonna do before they do it.
Yeah.
And I'm able to. I mean, that's kind of one of the reasons why we connect so easily with our youth, because we really understand them. So in another situation, something that they might do may be seen in a different light than when we see it. A student, he might say something and in another situation, it might be seen as being disruptive, but we might see it as, he just really want to be seen for some reason. Let's hear him out for a second.
Right.
See what's going on. Now, we're not gonna let you interrupt the class, but what's the real reason behind this? There's another reason behind this. So let's find out what that reason is. And the kids respond to that very well. We're not afraid of the students, that's for sure. We see them as students. Yeah.
Before the pandemic, did you have like a brick and mortar? Were you in person?
Yes, we were. So we actually built relationships with Boys and Girls Club, one, and also our Parks and Recs here in Durham. We ran programs for them as well, and a couple of other nonprofits. CARE, which is like a mental health. They specialize in mental health and senior health. And so they wanted to kind of expand and offer more STEM related services. We were just starting to expand with them. And that's when COVID hit. Yeah. But we had a partnership with the studio, like the big time studio. So during for the music side, first we would develop the beats using FL Studio because we were in person. We take those beats, then go to the studio to record. We probably have 3 recording sessions. So, and I would partner up with a lot of the local artists in the area. So they would come and kind of give them tips and spend time with them, show them how to do certain techniques. Then we also would shoot a music video. So we shoot a music video. So we have people, it'd be professionally shot. We have people come and mentor and show them the ropes on how to perform for the video. So there's a lot of planning. We planned out the album cover. We went through every step of music production for an album to be finished. We planned out how we wanted the album to go. We planned out skits, if we wanted skits or not. The title, like we planned every aspect of it. So how we wanted the vibe to be, and same with the video game. We would plan every aspect. So in person, it was definitely, it was definitely. I'm not gonna say easier, but it was very intense because of the interactions, especially going to the studio. The kids love going to the studio. Yeah.
In the lab.
Yes, they love to be in the lab, and. Yeah, those kids are something else, man. They knew it. I was always so proud of them because they just, and it's funny because a lot of you would expect a lot of the youth to have, that whole trap sound and, the type of hip hop rap you hear on the radio, but a lot of them, they weren't even like that. Like they would have written raps and they have writtens, and it was one of the students, he was in the Tupac, he was in the 90s hip hop, there were a lot of them that were like that. So you can't go in expecting that, oh yeah, well yeah, they're kids, so they're only gonna like this certain type of music. Nah, like you have to see where they are, see what they actually like. They'll surprise you.
Yeah, they will. Hey, I got a question from Janetta Elaine. The question is, what's the pricing or cost per week for your 12-week course?
Oh, okay. So it's certainly not per week.
Okay.
We charge so for a first timer, in the beginner, we charge $100 for the whole 12-week workshop. So it's just $100, and then when you return, because we have a leveling program too, so we start with beginner, and you can go all the way up to expert to where you're like leading your own teams. You asked about Git. We use Git and Jira and stuff in the program as well. But for a returning student, that's only $50 for the whole workshop, for the whole 12-week workshop. So we definitely want to keep it affordable, because I'm real serious in, teaching our youth the fundamentals so they can be just better prepared for life after high school, especially in the STEM world. And a lot of what they learn in the program is transferable. You can either transfer it as workable experience for your resume. You're building your own portfolio to be able to show the different companies that you might be trying to get a job for. And you can also transfer it to college credit because it's work experience that could be transferred to college credit if you decide to go to college. So we're just really trying to prepare and just have them better prepared for the STEM world. It's really all we're trying to do.
Janetta Elaine said, absolutely amazing. I will be signing my son up. Thank you.
Oh yeah, no problem. No problem at all. I appreciate your question.
Yes. Back to the coding program. Something you stated that is that you're using Git and you're using Jira. You're actually preparing them for the workforce.
Yes.
Do they understand the skills that they're getting, or they're just doing this process, not realizing that, hey, this is actually real life industry work right here that you're doing?
It's a mix of both. One of the, so with Git, I'll use Git as an example. We explain, I would start off by saying we do explain that, these tools are what most, if not all, top 500 companies use. So many companies use these tools. We even use Miro for design thinking and brainstorming when we're having our brainstorming sessions. So we tell them that, but I don't know if it fully sticks until we start using it. And a lot of feedback that I get at the end, especially of the beginner's course, because we really start getting into Git, is that, man, I really, it was something about using Git, man. I felt like a coder when I was using it, so they can feel it. They can feel it when they're using these tools, even if they don't think they're doing anything that advanced, but these Git commands, you work for a job, you're gonna need to know those.
For sure.
So
for sure.
Yeah. And so they're just repeating this over and over and over again. So if they go into workforce and they hear that, when they hear Get pulled and Get fetch, they're gonna be like, oh yeah, I remember that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do they collab on the games, or are they building their own games individually?
So it's both.
Okay.
So our course, so we have our courses where they build their own game, right? They're building their own demo, and each time they come back, they're learning more about game development and building more on their demo. And then they're taking that knowledge that they get in that course and also develop a collaborative game. So we have a couple games that have already been released by DBH. One is Ogre's Mayhem, which is based off of a lot of anime, and Shrek. Shrek is the bad guy, and they like chose all kinds of anime characters to fight against Shrek, basically, and all the bosses are anime. Wow. So they kind of wanted to tie those two together. And so that game is, we've been building up that game for the past year. So it's still in development, but we update with patches and things every time we have a workshop. They choose between that game and Escape of the Ages, which is more of a dungeon crawler type beat 'em up. And so they choose which one they can either start their own game, or they can choose to continue developing on the two that are already public.
Okay.
Yeah.
I got a question for you. Have you heard of Scratch?
Yes.
When you teaching kids how to code, is the program kind of like Scratch, or are they actually learning like real coding languages?
No, they're learning coding languages.
Okay.
Yeah, Scratch is more functional, logic based.
Right.
No, they're actually coding. So they're the OpenBR is based off of C.
Hmm.
So they're learning C, and there's the advanced level of doing more C, but then there is the top coding that's more like Ruby on Rails.
Right.
You have Ruby's with Ruby, which is the what do you call it, the coat that makes Rails a little bit easier to build.
Right.
So that's pretty much what OpenBRI has. They have the code that makes the under advanced C easier to build.
Okay.
So yeah, so they're learning both.
That's good stuff. That is really good stuff. The older students that have gone through your program, do they end up going to college for like software development?
Yes, they do. We actually, yeah, we have at least the past 3 who've actually gone on to college. They all went to school for software development for computer science. We also, the ones who don't know if they really want to go to college, we bring them back, and even if they are in college, but we bring them back for paid internships to kind of keep building on, so they could be like peer mentors for the younger students, to kind of just keep it going, and put them in more lead roles as well, to be able to mentor the youth. They seem to really love that as well. This really kind of shows how they were, at that age, but also shows how to deal with different personality types. And so when they are in the workforce, they already have dealt with so many types of people by that point.
Man, I'm gonna get my kids signed up. My kids are younger, so I'm gonna talk to them. They're in like a program now, but in that program, they're using like Scratch so they can understand the logic of coding since they're so young. You know what I mean? But I would like for them to come in not only just to support your program, but to be challenged. Because using Scratch, I don't really think they understand what they're doing yet. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
how old are they?
They're 8 and 10 and 8.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah, my son would love it. He's 8 though, so to get him started, he would love it. But when you mention like the math and the more advanced stuff, I'm gonna try it. When your next one comes out, I'm gonna sign him up.
Okay. I mean, and so that part, so we went over the math in the past summer camp, right? That's when we had a 9-year-old. It just required, so we didn't make it sound like algebra.
Okay.
We kind of mentioned it in a way like for the most part, we at least know how to add and subtract.
Right.
So we focused on those aspects and less about the whole algebra aspect. So at the end of the day, you're really adding and subtracting.
Okay. Well, he's really good at math.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he's really good at math, especially if you talk to him and put the math in the money. Oh yeah, he's on top of it. Right?
Okay.
He's on top of it. So you're saying $50 times $20? Oh, I know what that is. That's $100. Like wait a minute, it's not $100. Maybe it ain't $100. It's $1,000. Yeah, you know what I mean. I'm the one that's not good at math. Yeah,
oh man,
math, but yeah.
Oh yeah, he'll be fine then.
Yeah, he's good. But all right, so here's a question from Sam Jones. He said, "Is your program strictly software development and music, or do you also branch out to like in the networking technology and things like that?"
Not at the moment. We keep it strictly game development and music production. We would love to partner up with some people to be able to teach that aspect to expand. As far as the expertise of the teachers here, we are strictly those 2 for now. Well, but we definitely want to expand.
if you decide to get into networking, you know some people. You in the
Yeah,
right place.
that's why I put that out there.
you know some people. I think you're good. Whenever you decide to make that happen, you got no problem doing that.
Okay.
All right. So you're in RTP. You have Digital Brilliance, however. When it comes to funding, let's say someone wants to support you. How can they go about doing that?
The best way, we definitely need to set that up because we usually would get our funding through like schools and like I said, like the Parks and Rec here in Durham. They would kind of pay us to run the program, but we will set up probably a PayPal of some sort or Cash App or something to accept support. We just haven't done that yet.
Okay.
We'll probably have that up in the next week, probably in the next week and a half, if people would like support. And then they would just go to digitalbrilliancehour.com and there will be an option there.
All right. Once you get that up, let me know. I'm gonna put it in the description of the video so people will know if you're watching this a week from now, there will be a link in the chat to where you can donate and support. So
yes, sir. Okay, awesome.
That's
we'll
what's
do.
So where do you want to go from here? Like what's your big picture?
So big picture, I would love to expand. So one thing that we're also doing, we are building a curriculum. We're kind of exporting our curriculum to be able to be taught in different areas. So like we can teach others to teach it, you know, because it doesn't always have to be us. You know, we don't mind selling the curriculum to other entities to be able to teach it themselves and wherever they are, like different schools, or just someone who just wanted to get into this themselves, you know. That's big picture for us, like spreading around the knowledge that we have, not only with our curriculum, but also our knowledge of just having the virtual space and being able to succeed in the virtual space, because a lot of people don't seem to succeed in teaching virtually, and feel like we have a good recipe for success in that regard too. So just spreading knowledge.
Man, you know, from this conversation, I got so many ideas. I know when it comes to coding, you heard of Kwame Brown?
Yes, sir.
Man, he been tearing up the internet, but
yes, sir.
That's something he's really talking about, and I would love for him to hear what you have going on. There's no telling what type of support you would get from that.
Yeah. I actually reached out to him actually, and he actually gave me a shout out on one of his videos.
Okay.
So that actually helped quite a bit.
Nice.
I didn't realize how much traffic I was going to get. I had to kind of change some things around on the site to make sure, you know,
it could support it.
It was more user friendly. Yeah. Cause I was like, man, all right. Wow. But yeah. I appreciate everything he's doing, man.
Yeah, man. He seems to really have a heart to help right now.
Yeah.
Outside of the other stuff, you know, but
it
get views, it get the point across and help him get to where he's going. So, you know, that's what's up.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, we got a question from Jermaine Green. He says, have you seen SNK MVSX Neo Geo? It allows for backloading games to be added via USB. Thoughts on retro gaming licensings?
I didn't know that could do that. I know exactly what system you're talking about.
Okay.
Because I love SNK, by the way. Neo Geo for sure.
Yeah.
We would love to do something like that, you know, because a lot of the assets that we use. So I don't know if, you know, anybody has heard of this site. It's called Mugen Archive. And I don't know if anyone's ever heard of Mugen, but Mugen is a is a game engine that's built for fighting games. So fighting games like Street Fighter 2, King of Fighters, all that stuff. And basically it's been out since like 99, and people have been developing assets for that engine so people can pretty much make their own fighting games. And it's definitely a lot easier to make the games with Mugen, because all the art assets there are there, and like there's just so much that you can use in that community. So, but what we do, we use a lot of those art assets and convert them into assets for OpenBOR for our class. So as far as the retro aspect, man, I'd love to look into that to see how we could kind of convert a game to be played on like one of those systems, because we build with 32-bit anyway.
What?
So again, 32-bit. Go ahead. Sorry.
You know, there's like I think it's called the Kano. It's like a kid's Raspberry Pi where you develop games and you can do things like that. You ever thought about putting out a curriculum to where you develop it with a Raspberry Pi or something, and then from there kids could play on that Raspberry Pi and take it to their friends and be portable with the game?
We could definitely do something like that, because these games can already be run on Raspberry Pi. I think Raspberry Pi already has an app for OpenBOR, right, to run those types of games. Yeah. So yeah, that's a great idea actually. You might have to write that one down, because
we'll talk about it. We'll talk about it.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, we'll talk about it.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, because I bought it for my kids one year, the Kano, and it had some games, and it had all types of stuff. Like it's a whole like library of different things that they could do on this Kano. It was already pre-configured. And so like my thinking is, even if you don't develop your own for the Raspberry Pi, maybe you can get a part of that to where whenever somebody buys this device, your platform is already on there and they can develop whatever game. They just got to sign up for your site or something.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll talk though.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I'm liking that. Yeah. Okay.
That's what's up. Do you have any of your games online?
Yes, I do. So at GameJolt.com, if you go to game, I can actually make sure to send it to you, but it should be GameJolt.com /Digital Brilliance Hour.
Okay. Yeah, if you can send me that real quick, I'll post it in this chat.
Okay, got it. Okay, let me go ahead and do that for you.
And while he's doing that, if you all have any questions, please post them in the chat. We would love to hear from you before we're out of here tonight.
Did you let's put it there.
Yeah, I got it. Hold on.
Okay.
All right. And so I'm posting in the chat where you can find all of his games. You know, I should try to share this real quick so we can pull it up. I don't know if I can. Let me see. I don't know what's over here. Let me do this. Yeah, I'll pull it up so everybody can get a sample of what's going on. Let me do this.
I think when you pull it up, you'll probably see a animated GIF. Yeah. Yes. So yeah, Ogre's Mayhem is the anime game that the kids keep wanting to develop on. And then Revolution 919, that's a beat 'em up that we used Mugen for. And yeah. Yo, Streets of Rage. Mm-hmm. Yep. Yes. Yes. Yeah. You got Deku there. Yeah, I'm in the anime too. So, I think that's another reason why I connect with the kids so well, because when they're mentioning, it's like, yeah, I watch anime, it's kind of like a cartoon. Or, oh yeah, no, I know what that is. And so that always surprises them when they hear that. And so they get to talking. Yes. Yes. Mm-hmm. Oh, you already downloaded it? Oh. Oh, yeah. Right. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
I was playing it. Hold on, let me minimize that. Yeah, I was playing a video so everybody could check it out real quick. I also put it in the link. So
Okay.
yeah,
Oh, awesome. Okay.
that's good stuff. All right, we got a question from James Brown.
Okay.
Shout out to James Brown.
Yes, sir.
It said, "How long should you keep a child on block-based app programming before moving them to real coding?" James' child is 9.
Yeah, the block coding. I would say maybe like a year. I mean, that it I would there's one thing I will say about, that whole scratch type site. I mean, it does get your child thinking in an engineering mindset, at least the whole logic aspect. It does do that. um so maybe like 6 months to a year, maybe. I wouldn't put them on there that long, because you want there's only so much you can learn from the whole logic block based tutorials and development, because you can start taking that information, that thought process, and adding it to developing very quickly.
I guess my next question is, what is your thoughts on the logic block coding?
I'm okay. All right. So it's good for, younger kids, I'll say.
Okay.
You know, so like 9, I think 4 to 9 is a good age, or even 10. But past 10, you might want to graduate from that. Just only because, again, like, you're really only learning the you're getting a little fundamental, so to speak, but you're learning more so how to think like an engineer, which is great. Don't get me wrong. You learn how to think like an engineer by um, warping your mind around the idea of logic. So that's pretty much what you're getting out of that.
Right.
But applying it, you're not necessarily applying it as much as you are kind of redoing your mind and re-engineering your mind.
Okay. Okay. That makes sense.
Yeah.
That makes
Yeah.
sense. So at some point, you after they get the understanding of logic of if this then that, then they need to step outside of that and challenge themselves.
Yes, definitely.
Got it. Got it.
Yeah.
Because honestly, I mean, you don't know the things that our kids are capable of.
Exactly.
There's no point in limiting them because they can do some great things at a young age.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It sure can, and I mean, at the end of the day, when you put stuff in front of them like that, man, I mean, I think those fundamentals from the block base, scratch and all of that. Like I said, I do think it's very helpful. to even have that kind of thought process coming into coding and engineering. Right. Because one thing, when you get into engineering, you have to learn how to think like an engineer anyway to be able to grasp it. So it just takes one of the steps out.
True.
Yeah.
All right, I'm gonna take a couple more questions. So if you have them, please drop them in the chat. We got another question from Sam Jones. The question is, do your kids have a choice of what platform their games are engineered? For example, console versus PC versus handheld, Switch type platforms.
Okay. So right now, only for PC right now.
Okay.
But we are planning to do more to branch out.
What's your thoughts on mobile games?
I like mobile games. I got a video, a YouTube video of like different free game engines that for beginners that people can use. So there are quite a few game engines that deal with mobile gaming. You know, same aspect. You know, you're still learning a language. A lot of them are being used, being written in like Lua and HTML5 and C#. But yeah, I mean, still, it's no different. Just it's the device.
What I find crazy is how much the game industry is booming on these these phone games, mobile games, and the graphics are, I don't know, some just seem to be 32-bit, and it's a game that's killing it. Like, how does that happen?
Well, because it's all about the experience. Like, if you can build something that passes the time away, and all you got to do is just press your finger, you know, like with Flappy Bird, you just press your finger, you know. You're sitting in school, or you're sitting on the bus and you just pressing your finger, and you don't have to do anything else. Time go by fast. You're just trying to flip the bird along, you know. So it's more about, I think with mobile, it's more about the experience and how you can keep someone's attention more so than the flash.
Right.
You save that for the consoles and the PC. Because you sit down at a PC, you want to do something.
Right.
Yeah.
All right, so here's my last question, and I wanted to ask you this earlier. When you look at a PS5 game, right, versus, I don't know, a 32-bit Sega game or a 16-bit Sega game or something like that, is the coding behind the two games drastically different or is it just the graphics that makes the game look so much better?
Right, it's the graphics. I mean, the only difference is, you know, a PS5, you know, they're in 3D, so you got the extra axis that you're working from. And when it comes to coding, but as far as the aspect of coding, no, it's not that different. The PS5 may require a little bit more time to build, might require more people to break up the work in, but no, it's not that different at all.
Okay.
Yeah.
So for kids that are just started in coding, one of the things you mentioned in the beginning is just break it down to the smallest piece and build from there. Same concept?
Yes, sir. Same concept. Even with 3D games. Like you know, games like Madden. I mean, most of these games now, you know, they build game engines to then build other games from, you know. So
explain that.
So 2K5, I mean 2K. There's a physics engine. There's an engine that, you know, allows people to shoot the ball, dribble, like everything that's involved in basketball. You know, there's something that's already written that incorporates all those functions and all that functionality. So basically, instead of reinventing that wheel every time they come out with a new 2K, they just reuse that engine, but make the graphics a little better. So they can spend more time in making the graphics better because they don't have to worry about the physics engine of it, because that's already been built. They don't have to worry about that. They can spend the extra time making it flashier and putting more of the meshes and the material on there to make the players look a little bit better.
That's interesting. And you
Yeah.
can find those engines and just develop from that point your own game.
Yeah, so yeah, there are a lot of engines out there that do that. And a lot of companies, they have their own where they keep in house.
Okay.
But yeah, you can find like OpenBOR. That's a beat 'em up engine. So you mentioned Street Fighter, not Street Fighter, Streets of Rage 2.
Right.
So it's a side scrolling engine that has a lot of the functionalities of a beat 'em up, of a side scrolling beat 'em up like Streets of Rage. And so you don't have to reinvent a lot of that unless you wanted to add some extra flair and some extra functionality to it. But
Right.
all of that's already there. So you can focus on the design and anything extra you want to add.
In your course, in your 12-week course, do you show that to the students? Do you talk to them about that?
Yes, we do.
Good stuff.
Yeah.
Good stuff. Hey, Kevin, this has been. I've loved this interview because it's given me insight to something that a whole nother world that I've always wondered about, and I love what you're doing, man. I think I know you will keep going, but I'm here to support you, and I hope from this live stream and this replay that you get even more support, bro.
Yeah, I appreciate it, man. Thank you. Thank
Yeah,
you.
thank you, man. Thank you. We need more people, that's giving the time, mentoring, showing their skills, because this isn't even like your 9 to 5 job. This is something you're truly passionate about, and you just giving back. And man, that's what I'm about. So that's what's
Yes,
up, bro.
sir. Yes, sir. Yes.
All right. For those of you that are watching, make sure you hit this video with a like. Kevin's contact information will be in the description of this video. Make sure you show him as much support as possible. Share this out to your friends that have kids and are looking to get them into software development. I believe that Kevin's provided a great backstory to his career and a blueprint to help you get started. Kevin, before we're out of here, is there something you want to say to the people?
No, man, I just appreciate everyone for even coming out and watching. Just don't ever let anyone tell you that just engineering in general is hard to do. We will always prove that it's not as difficult as we make it. If we break things down, as the one that already said, break these down to a smaller level, we can attack anything. So, yeah, don't ever think that anything's out of your reach, because I'm proof that it's not. So,
And there you have it. Thank you all for tuning in, and we'll catch you on the next one. Peace.
peace.